Never knew my father, and my mother just, you know, my mother's took me around the world when I was young, you know, from a little baby like him, and I watched her singing and was influenced by her. When she was on the stage with me, like, you know, a tiny baby, I would hear the singing. She worked really hard to get me the opportunities to at least, you know, have a chance in life. And she came from a poor background, really, you know, just Lancashire, in northern England. The people didn't have much money then, and she was adopted herself, you know. This is the alleyway that I used to walk up to get home, right? Every day I used to come down here on my skateboard. God, it's really bringing back memories. And this is when I was about 17, and this is where I kind of used to sing to myself, because it was quiet, as you can see, so you could burst out without anybody else hearing you. All we did all day was skateboard. Skate to live. That's what we did. I never went anywhere without skateboard. I've seen a clear path for myself, in a way. It's a bit like, there was a point in my life when I was doing a very mundane job. I was doing very mundane things just to get some money, to get some musical equipment. Oh man, you name it. From working in warehouses to packing bean sprouts to stuffing kilo blocks of hashish down my front, and you name it, you know. I mean, what you have to do, just hustling and, you know, whatever you like. And nothing particularly radical, you know, but all the same, not what I wanted to do. And there came the day when my situation with the work was getting worse and worse, and I wasn't going into work, and he was going, now look, if you don't come in tomorrow, you know, you're going to lose your job. And so I dragged myself in there, and then I'd carry on, but it was not right, you know. And there came the day when I realized the grass is greener on the other side. Having a block here, and you want to see what's down here, yeah? But unless you jump across, you can't see what's down there, because you're trying to look from here. So you know sort of what's there, but you can't look. And the point is, if you jump, you can't come back. So in other words, there comes a point, you know, always a point when your head goes, do it. In other words, with me, that point was, forget the work, do music. Do everything you can to concentrate on doing music. Music, music, music. Now, even if you've got no money, you're hungry, starving, just music, 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 music. That was all I did. And so I leapt, if you like. I said, stuff work, I'm going to do music. When life, you know, said, jump, I jumped. And within 6 weeks, I had a record deal. Of what I would call what I had, you know, Jamiroquai, and the Buffalo Man, this symbol which I drew.
Oh, maybe that's because you're the other half of me, like the spring in bloom, summer up and love soon. Everybody will sing the melody of that love tune. Hey.
Did you have lots of lessons as you were growing up?
I was, classically trained on the piano, and got a scholarship to good school.
Yeah.
And carried that on for a bit, and then got much more interested in other things, including electronics. So I started at school. I started making amps, guitar amps.
Oh, right. Wow.
And they had a kind of basic recording area, and had a 4-track tape machine, Tascam.
Right.
So, sort of 14 or 15, I started recording my own tunes.
I see.
And, you know, experimenting with overdubbing and layering. And
so even before becoming a professional musician, you were already interested in
fiddling,
studio tech.
And I'd already got into kind of the nerdy side of music. At 17, I started clubbing, with my sister, and she kind of introduced me to the London club scene,
Right.
late 80s kind of house scene.
Yeah.
I thought, I can do this. This is
Yeah.
not too
Right.
hard, you know,
Yeah.
I can tackle this. So I left school and went up to town and started kind of making dance records,
Right. Right.
and had a release on London Records under the Kleptomaniacs, we were called, and kind of stonking hardcore house it was.
And this was all done in your bedroom or something?
That was all done in bedrooms,
Right.
or actually there was the label that I released it on was a kind of, you know, he was the archetypal, you're going to get ripped off the first time you're in the music industry type pod,
Yeah.
which I did.
Yeah.
And, you know, we sold about 12,000
Wow.
copies actually, and I saw nothing.
Yeah.
So I got burnt, that's fine, I don't begrudge him. And then I kind of carried on making dance records, and then I met Jay, Jamiroquai, frontman. And I was round at a mutual mate's house, and Jay played a demo, sort of then and there put on a tape of what was When You're Gonna Learn, which he'd been working on, which is his first single. And he was kind of going in the direction, his direction was what I'd naturally been kind of going myself,
Yeah.
which is lots of minor 9 chords,
Yeah.
and kind of more funky,
Yeah.
kind of melodic based thing, and I'd been kind of gagging to work with a singer, and but at that meeting we just kind of said hello,
Yeah.
nothing came of it, and then
Right.
about a month later his manager at the time, a guy called Tunji, phoned up, and our mutual mate had told him that I was a keyboard player,
Yeah.
and Jay wanted to work with a keyboard player. And then when we were in the studio, I mean, you know, Al Stone produced 2, 3 and 4. Do you do 4? 2, yeah, I think you do. Or do you do 2? I can't remember. And the first album was engineered by a guy called Mike Nilsson,
Right.
a New Zealand guy from New Zealand. Really oversized forearms. He used to go on about, he used to go on about enzymes eating the desk or something, and things weren't quite going right.
Ladies and gentlemen, saddens me to have to give him his own spot. But I suppose this time we'll let him get away with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gavin Young! All right, everyone, stand by. DJ Desire.
I remember we did the video in America, and I remember the video got banned. You know, the video got banned. Well, because I just went to Greenpeace and just took loads of footage of their stuff, and stuff that I just didn't think was right. So, they said, hey, we can't play that, you know, it's got like a Nazi party in there. We can't play that. So yeah, they didn't want to play that. They didn't want to play Bull the Yank. So we couldn't really get it played out there, which was a shame because the track was trying to say something. And I think it's important that, you know, the visuals are that strong and they disturb you. So I don't know. After a while, you start to think, well, this isn't going to work. You know, even though I want to do stronger stuff, they're just going to ban it because we're not going to get played.
I think people should be shocked. I think it's about time that we took a serious of it. I think people should be shocked all the time and hit with it. And, you know, people said we did the When You're Going to Learn video. I said, I want it strong. I just want people to just reel from it, like, you know, be wiping tears away, because it's the only way you get people.
And you better play it nature's way, or she won't take it all away. And don't try and tell me you know my band, her bad right from wrong. Oh, you've upset the balance, man, done the only thing you can. Now my life is in your hands. No, we're too young to die, too young to die. So many people all around the world, yeah, all around the world. I've seen their brothers fry, I've seen your brother fry. Don't you know that you blow my mind, honey?
It's nice it tones down the rest of the album. And it's, I suppose, a song for other people, really. It's just that vibe, you know. What I wanted to write about was, you know, when you see people in the summertime and things are kind of lovey-dovey, and you just catch that vibe, Spring Rabbit vibe between people.
To you, I want to get closer to you now. Education. Whoa, and the streets are never clean. I've seen a certain disposition prevailing in the wind. Sweet change, and anybody's listening. Oh, emergency on planet Earth. Is that love that I am witnessing? I'm just another wasted bird. everything the thing you like. Know your place and fit your space. Young man, you will conform. I didn't hear my soul express those rules when I was born. Cause I'm free to roam, cause it's my home. You can't stop certain inclination. The kids on the system breaking down that higher education. If it ain't not that you love, then you can keep your regulations. Yeah, cause if I like you, I do it.
Somebody wrote about the lyrics, how he hasn't discovered irony yet. Well, I'm afraid I haven't got time for having a laugh or being ironic or anything else. Because this is serious. We're talking about people's lives and we're talking about suffering. And have you ever suffered, Mr. Politician? Have you ever been really bloody hungry? No, because you went to Eton, Marlborough, bloody, you know, Charterhouse. Do you know what I mean? How can you be in contact with the people you're supposed to be representing? John Major visits Glasgow. Does he? Does he go around the back streets, you know, where people live in slums and squats? When they go to Rio de Janeiro, what, did the politicians not know that the streets are getting cleared of all the kids? Of course they bloody knew. So why did they not address the issue? Because they're there to have a bloody lunch and be taken to and from the airport. They don't see anything. They don't want to see.
But it seems to make sense to me. You can chop it all down, and then some, you know, little guy's going to come and say, well, actually, you chopped that tree down, but that actually had the, you know, when we crushed that bark, it's actually got a powder that does this. You know, I mean, it's just common sense, man. It's like everything else. We always wait until it's too late, and then we do something about it.
If I can earn a lot of money, but still carry with me where I was, you know, then I'll be wiser for it. I think a lot of people want to change things, a lot of politicians want to change something, but by the time they've battled through, you know, and they've got their seat, in the end they can't be bothered, or, well, I had to work for it, so you have, mate. You know, it's that old human attitude. We should be helping each other.
They need to war. We need to sell the African nations some weapons. We want them to kill each other. We can go in there and cause trouble, and you've got some oil. Well, we need some oil. Can we come in and have some of that oil? Please, you know. Man, it's bad.
Somebody is buying weapons and selling weapons, and somebody is keeping everybody in the business of war. And it must stop. How do we do that? I don't know, because we're the little people, aren't we? They're the big people. I mean, let's be serious now, you know. They're supposed to be the intelligent people. And, well, you know, you should be able to see sense that children are dying, people are suffering, and for what? You know, if you haven't learned by now, the big boys with their big toys, you know, your tanks and planes, and I've got these missiles, and it's like a bunch of kids.
But, you know, people have really got to start knowing, you know, Christopher Columbus was not a nice guy. You know, and the pirate Hawkins, and they said he was a very brave man, you know, all these kids, they're not very brave men at all, they were bastards.
Young man wants to see people with no food get fed. Young man, sick of politicians taking the piss, wants to change world. Young man wants to see people stop cutting down trees to make supermarkets. Young man wants to stop seeing faith and religion distorted by television preacher. We have many angry young men. We have very angry young women. You know, there are very many angry young people, full stop. Period, finish, you know, and I'm not the first one, and I won't be the last one. But then again, I am in a position to be able to speak, to be able to have an opinion, to be able to do a television interview, and to people to listen to what you have to say. And I think it's important to be angry. I think there's plenty to be angry about. The journalists who write silly things about me are just failed musicians themselves. They're just people who wanted to make music and never ever got it together, and now they want to put people like me in a pigeonhole, which I refuse to go into, and they can't understand it. But I bet they sit there going, shit, but he's got a major record deal, and he's got a major record deal, and he earns money, and yet his music isn't particularly commercial, and so what does he fit? Where's the box? So they can have, you know, their 2 minutes of power, and they've got their little name in the corner. Well done, you know, but I'm still here, I'm still out there. I mean, you're going to have to do better than that. I mean, sometimes I sit and read these things and I just throw it on my shoulder and go, you're going to have to do better than that. I'm not, you know, when I started, I used to read a couple of things and go, bloody hell, man, that's not me, you know. This is what happens to artists. Over a period of time, if you do waste the time to read, you know, waste your own time really reading a lot of this stuff, so-called critics, the idea, I think, at the end of it is that you read what they've written about you, and you read it in another magazine, and over a period of years, you become what they want you to become. You know what I mean? Oh, that's what I am. There's always people who want to build you, and then go and watch you just fall, you know?
I know, there's all sorts of issues people that you never even really thought about, and suddenly people start throwing it in. Aren't you appropriating black music? Haven't you got soul? You know, but you're a white guy, and so what? Who gives a shit? You know, I mean, it's not, you know, how come they're all white in the band? Because I don't know, do I? Kind of thrust a producer on us that was far from ideal. Somebody who'd done things like Erasure, and I mean, that's great, you know, but we're not into bloody rubbers. And half of my own jokes, they're crap. You do find that record people, they love to come in and touch buttons. I think this would sound good like this, but I think you should just go away, because I think it sounds better when we do it, actually, because we're the band and, like, you're an A&R man. So, see ya.
And there was no way I was going to have a producer who'd come along, want a silly amount of points off the album to make you sound like everybody else. You sold 10 million albums, Robbie. oh, really, did I? Yeah. And, but the thing is, you see, we can only give you the money for 5 million, because we just spent 60 grand on an advert for you. Is that right? You don't mind, do you? No, it's great. I just love it. I love being a pop star. I'm asked, who do you like? I say Stevie Wonder. And next month people say, but you think you're Stevie Wonder. Not fair to compare me to Stevie Wonder or anything to do with the fact that I went do-do-do-do and he went do-do-do-do-do. Oh, I mean, sorry for going do, you know, but you gotta understand that's what people would do.
Everything is good and brown. Oh, I'm here again with a sunshine smile upon my face.
Now you're in space. Après la planète, il se retrouve dans l'espace.
Yeah, well, it's because we kind of spent the last 6 months pretty stoned, you know.
Ils ont été affamés pendant 6 mois.
You know, hashish, marijuana. You know?
Oui, hashish, marijuana.
It's no good looking in my pocket naked. There's none for you, okay?
Ouais.
But no, it's.
You want to smoke or what?
Yeah, skin up, baby.
Voilà.
It's.
Mon avis, il va se rouler un tarpé avant la fin de l'interview, d'ailleurs. So.
Pardon?
Tell us.
What is a space cowboy? Space cowboy is an analogy for feeling good, feeling high, not necessarily through marijuana and hashish, but through.
Et heureusement que 10 secondes avant, avec FFF, on avait dit pas de drogue.
But,
no, a few minutes ago we said no drugs, but okay.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't hear.
No, it doesn't matter. It was in French. That's the reason why. Voilà.
Oh, okay. See.
Say I'm dead again, and I don't suppose I'm coming down. I can see clearly. So hey.
Space Cowboy was the return of the Space Cowboy. I felt that I was, you know, space cowboying out, and
that was you, yeah.
And I felt I had to sort of come back to Earth. And I still haven't got there yet. I'm still on Mars.
light chairs, light chairs. Yeah, now I feel it coming. You give me light years away from serious intention. Yeah, see, I thought I'd change it all. Someday I'd get to turn mankind this way. Hey.
You like speed, obviously. And any other fast hobbies? I know you've done some snowboarding. What is it, the video for Light Years?
Yeah. Well, that was really difficult to do because I'd only been once before. I used to skateboard a great deal, but I'd only been once before. I'd only about 3 days. Me and him and somebody else went for a little quick thing.
You know, dancing moves are kind of a bit skateboarding kind of.
Yeah. I think it all sort of mingles into one big munchy thing. But we only had, again, we're in the middle of a tour doing a video.
Yeah.
So we had 1 day. 1 day. These guys hadn't even done it before.
What's the video about?
Well, it's about farming.
Yeah, now I feel it coming.
They were saying, like, drop off this thing. I looked over this quickly. Jesus Christ, you want me to drop on back? They go, come on, the sun's going. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I just went, all right. And I sort of, off I went down the hill and just went and landed on my head in the snow. Nearly broke my back, actually. Nearly broke my back.
Oh.
I went over like this, trying to get radical, and landed with my head in the stiff snow. And it wasn't like powdery. So I went upside down. My head went in, but of course the rest of my body went that way.
No.
So my back's here, and
Yeah.
one of those, and when you feel it go like that. I did it once doing a somersault on a bouncy castle. You feel it go up your back, and you go,
Yep.
I paralysed myself.
There's something
I paralysed myself, but I hadn't paralysed myself.
There are so many wondrous things for you to see. If you find that something's going wrong, look around at what you're running from. You can wait 1,000 years in line for that stillness in time. In a moment of confusion, I forgot the set list. He's found it for me. Everything is stuck and well, oh, I'm here again. With a sunshine smile upon my face, my friend, I clutch at hand, and now my inhibitions have disappeared without a trace. I'm glad, oh, I found somebody who I can rely on. This is the return, the space cowboy, and the planetary about all. Say the speed achiever, oh, you and I go deeper. Now maybe I'm gonna have to get high just to get by. Free to choose what we do.
I think what it was trying to say was that, hey, in this country, and as in most countries, we can drink alcohol until we fall out of the pavement or fight each other and put glasses in each other's faces. I have to say that when people smoke joints, I don't ever see them doing that. I don't think it's such a bad thing, harder drugs are bad, they lead to terrible roads and they can take you down the wrong road. Let's face it, I always say, it's a plant. You know, I mean, there's not one man on the planet who can be really turning around and saying, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's a plant. It was there with the rest of us. It was there before us.
You got a present for me, Jay.
We brought you out, Ray.
Oh, lovely. That's lovely, that is.
Where's the cucumber, Ray?
Here's the cucumber. I can't move with this on, Jay.
Cucumber, Ray?
Here. I'm a bit caged in at the moment.
Give that to me. I'll leave that.
Be careful.
Of Ray the cowboy. Interplanetary space Ray cowboy vibe. Now with the speed of Ray's auto cue, you can tell that Ray Coates is on a very toasty, tasty vibe. All right. Is that a dog or a man? Me. Right. Stewart. 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 Oh man, please not again. I can't be afforded to be laughing in the middle of numbers. Right.
Shola Akingbola, the name really came out being a member of the fantastic group Jamiroquai.
Yes.
18 years of service.
Yes.
Tell me how that relationship came to be.
Wow. It's very fortunate, really. Again, it comes down to the name, Shola Akingbola.
Wow.
The drummer who came to see me the day before Jamiroquai were due to do a show in Paris on Taratata. They'd lost their previous percussionist, so they needed a percussionist. So he asked me, would I be interested? And I said, well, why have you come to me? He said, your name was the third name on the list. There were 3 names. He said, your name fascinated me. And I just felt like I needed to see what this guy was about with a name like that. And then the rest is history.
Wow.
I flew to Paris to do the show in Taratata. The manager forgot to give me the music the day before, so I arrived at the show, no music. I had no idea what to play.
Freestyle.
Freestyle, baby.
Freestyle.
Freestyle, so I had to pretend that, yeah, I know what's going on. Bam, kick the tune, Space Cowboy.
What we're living in, let me tell ya. And it's a world that man can eat at all. When things are big that should be small. Who can tell what
It's not so much the technology, it's where the technology gets used. And if technology falls into the wrong hands, it becomes disastrous. This is what virtual insanity is really about. Although I use technology, I use it in the sense of food technology. How we make our food, how we produce our food. No food's organic anymore. You know, people can say, I'm a vegetarian. You don't know where the vegetables are. You don't know what they sprayed on it. Paraquat, T45, the sheep dips. There's a big thing in England now about the mad cow. But you know, this is what happens when you mess about with nature. And I'm frank, you know, if you feed cows themselves, you end up with disease. I mean, there was a cannibal tribe in Papua New Guinea, and they used to eat the brains of people, and it creates a disease where they go mad, you know, frothing in the mouth and all the rest. Now, and this is common sense. Surely this is natural law. And if only we would apply a little more to the natural law of the world, you know, only one planet, you know, only one little planet. Before long, we will be cloning each other. I believe that, you know, with so much chemical imbalance around in the world, I think we're going to end up with a frightening mutation and a frighteningly overpopulated world. The song is virtually insanity. The world has gone crazy. You know, it's like the money that gets spent, like I said before, on weapons. The lyric in the song, you know, now the mother can choose the colour of her child, and literally it's going to be like that. You're going to look at a colour chart and go, I think I'll have a kid, a white kid with blue eyes and black hair and. Basically it was done with a guy called Jonathan Glazier, and we had run through a couple of ideas for travelators, the kind of things you find in airports, but that was going to be so difficult to do, and there was only a limited amount of visual impact it would have. So that, you know, what we've done is look at the way I move around in videos and things like Space Cowboy, and now we could kind of upgrade that.
And then when I got down to the shoot, all I could do was this rumbling. So I sort of came with those rumble, 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 rumble. East! Quickly! West! Slowly! Northwest! Stop at south! And I was like, what's going on here?
What we ended up with was a three-sided room where the fourth side of the room is the camera. And a load of poor people who had to push the room around. So it's actually not the floor that's moving, which I'm sure is what everybody thinks. It's the floor that's moving. It's actually the room that is moving. So when you see the chairs on the side of the room, for example, in some instances they're attached to the side of the wall. So when you push it, I stand still, everything moves that way, the wall and everything. Then you unscrew the chairs. So then I stand, push the room, and then the chairs come with me. But the problem is it was done in 4 shots. And there was a certain amount of rehearsal that had to go into where you had to be for what line. Because if, obviously, they push the room north and you start walking north, you end up negating the whole effect. So I had to control, you know, and sort of guess, like, where things were, because it's very disorientating. This whole room's moving around, you don't know what is going on. And it took me a few takes to sort of get to grips with what was going on and when to stop, you know, and then they push it forward, so it looks like I'm moving towards you. So it was clever, and instead of taking the lyrical theme of the tune, we've just taken the actual title, Virtually Insane. I mean, it's a mad video.
And the winner is Jamiroquai.
I thought, oh God, Cosmic Girl there. What am I going to do for this bloody Cosmic Girl video? Cosmic Girl. Who is the Cosmic Girl? I don't want to be sitting there with some bloody Cosmic birds crooning away to I know what I'm doing. I'm in the Cosmic Girl Lamborghini. Fantastic.
We were on tour in Germany, and this guy had to take it half a mile down the road, and for some reason has got his kid in the car, and has decided he's going to give it a squirt. And you just don't give those cars a squirt, because they are difficult to control. Giving it a squirt, and he's hit something, he's come up too fast behind someone, and there's a lot of weight travelling there, and he's hit some dirt, lost it. He must have been doing 80 miles an hour, I suppose. Anyway, then what's happened is that they've said you can't use the car for the video, and we've got 4 days to the video. I said, you're joking. I said, right.
And you were obviously devastated at
I
the
was
time.
I was devastated because, you know, it was my pride and joy. There was only one other purple one in the country, and I thought it was very relevant, the cosmic and the purple colour. It's such an outrageous colour, it could only be that combination. Now, there's only one other. Luckily, this guy was selling his. He was selling his.
No.
So we got hold of that one. It got put in the transporter, got taken to Almeria in Spain, and I said specifically, I said nobody takes them off the transporter to play with them, because what they wanted to do was they wanted to get some precision drivers, not stunt drivers, precision drivers. I said, well, I don't want anybody else driving it, you know, we'll do the driving, thank you very much, which we did, the majority of it in the end.
Yeah.
But they wanted to start filming beforehand to get some of the stuff we weren't in. And this precision driver precisely took it round the corner and precisely let the back end come out and knocked the camera crew off a cliff and caused £20,000 of the damage to it. Yeah. That was the second one. You'll see on the video is the windscreen is missing. On the second cut, when you see me singing away to the thing, the windscreen is missing. So they've taken the bonnet off, but the camera in there, facing there. So I've driven around with this camera right there, around these mountain roads, trying to sing to the song. But in fact, if you had the glass there, you wouldn't have been able to see it. So it was quite amusing. And it's all down at Lamborghini at the moment, being fixed up. So I said, by then I didn't laugh. That's a lie. In fact, I shouted so much that I didn't have enough voice left to do a gig in Zurich.
Without moving,
Actual real terms, we're travelling without moving because of the way the Earth spins, you know, at 1,000 miles an hour on its axis, and we just sit and we ain't moving, which is all really trippy. I think socially, we're travelling without moving, we're going nowhere. Economically, we're going nowhere. You know, the world is not getting a better place. You know, a man stepped on the moon, what, you know, 69. Yeah. Everybody thought that the world would become a better place, and it hasn't at all. In some respects, it's become a worse place, because we still spend billions and billions of dollars on bombs and guns and tanks instead of spending it, you know, doing the right thing with it and looking after the planet, you know. But it has so many different meanings, and it's the same with Space Cowboy. Every title has a different meaning to me that it has to you. I mean, it was actually inspired from driving fast cars. You know?
What is the relationship between the album cover now with the Jamiroquai that we always know with the Ferrari thing, or?
Well, because I've had 5 Ferraris, and I love driving because it's just a way of letting my energy out. After all this is finished, I need speed. I'm a bit of a speed freak.
can't stop, no. I know how we're doing is traveling without moving. Oh,
The title came about was because I took one of my friends out, and we kind of took these corners quite quickly, you know. And he said, wow, this is like traveling without moving. But in fact, it still goes on further than that, because I said to him, where did you get that from? And if you watch the film Dune, there's a lady, she says, you know, they have this thing, the spice melange. They have the spice melange in the film. Watch the film and you'll see. And traveling without moving is the ability to fold space and time.
Oh, I really know that all we're doing,
It's got a lot more strings in it. The rhythm section, from Derek's point of view, from the bass and the drums and the percussion, is it's just much more solid than it was. It's just a better sounding album. It's been, you know, it's been recorded on an old desk for a start. You know, a 1974 Neve desk.
Now don't you see, all of us could be living in harmony.
You want to see the hair? Let me show you the hair. Hair's all there. I use silver cream.
JK has been spending a great deal of his time helping promote the charity Tusk Force, a cause he strongly supports.
I'm passionate about creatures which are endangered, because if you look at how many species of creature we manage to extinct every year, it just erases off the face of the planet. Only a small planet, man. How many times can you do that? Tusk Force is an organisation which supports the protection of all endangered species throughout the planet. Particularly the big game, the big elephants, things with tusks, rhinos, what have you. Yeah, let's give them our support so our children and our children's children and children's children's children can see those creatures in their natural habitat, which is the place to see them. Well, if you want to go and see a tiger, there ain't no point going to see one in a zoo. Zoos should be banned completely and totally. They are cruel, and they are savage, and they're vicious, and often or not, there is not the money to run them properly. And this is where these animals end up in cages that are too small for them, and some of the atrocities that go on with people, like some guy in Tenerife who had a lion, you know, which is sort of started off quite a small thing. And this lion now walks about and it's hobbles, it's bent like that because it never had enough room. Makes me cry. Makes me kind of mad when I think about these things, you know. Anyway.
How did you two first meet?
We met in Rome. We were doing a TV show in Rome, and Miss Ross saw me. Yeah, we admired each other. Miss Ross saw us play, and she was boogieing away. She's the monitor. And then, I don't know what happened next. What happened next?
Then we went and we met each other at the hotel, and we talked a little bit downstairs, you remember?
We had a, yeah?
I came back home and told everybody how great he was, and so then we just figured out how to get together.
Take the funky jazz sounds of Jamiroquai and blend them with the classic voice of Diana Ross, and you get a most memorable performance.
Never mind the dance to the music. Hey now, are you feeling well? Now you caught this bug. Never mind the dance to the music. Yeah. The last time I took an overdose. Come on, dance to the music.
We were left with 9 tracks. The studio got started in January, so we went in and did those 9 tracks upstairs. Finished in July. And then by September, he decided that he didn't want to bother anymore.
Can you shut up here? I'm trying to do a monologue.
Broke down to the point where really, you know, very difficult for us to work together, you know, because when somebody wants to do their own thing and they're not focused on what you want to do and they want to pursue their own career, you know, you have to let them go. So, to save any complications and legalities and what have you that go on, I suggested that we completely rewrite a new album.
Now realize that I came too close. Now I'm gonna dance to the music, music, music. Hey, come on now.
Nick, the new guy that's playing with us. Yeah, he's very good. He's very good, yeah. And I must say, he's a lot easier to get on with. He's a lot easier to get on with.
Bit of a smaller ego. So we took 6 weeks to find a new bass player, because by the time we got auditions together, and assorted bass players came here.
All sorts.
Some of which tended to amuse the rest of the band to the point where they could hardly play. I distinctly remember Derek being there one day, and everybody looking at each other going,
me losing it slightly.
Not anymore. But when we found Nick, who was Nick Fife, who's very, very good, and he's done what's on the album. So.
Yeah, but didn't he apply to Jamiroquai covers band and and then he turned around and
He did get asked. Yeah, that's right. He got asked to come for an audition for the Jamiroquai tribute band. He phoned them up and they said, "Come down and do an interview and do an audition and see what's going on." And then the next day, I had an audition with us. So when they found out, they said, "Hey, come down to the rehearsal, man."
He said, "Sorry."
He said, "Sorry, I've got a job with Jamiroquai."
I just want to touch on the success of last year. The first UK #1 was Deep Underground. Jay, were you surprised that it went #1?
Yeah, I was, because I nearly gave up on the song, to be honest, because it took about... Well, I started it in January before we even started the album, and I wrote a set of lyrics for it, and they consisted of lines like, "It's a good day to die," and "Godzilla, he's a killer." And then I sent it to the record company, and we were spending so much time on it, and not enough on the album. And I got to this point, I was a bit worried, that we would waste all this time, because the thing about film companies is that, you'll do the track, you'll waste all your time and money doing it, and then they just turn around and go, "No, we don't like it." And I was kind of a bit annoyed about that, I just feel that that's kind of an annoying way to do things. So, anyway, then I sent the track in, they said, "Well, we like the track, but we don't want to mention dinosaurs, and we can mention, like, underground, but we have to feel sympathy for the dinosaur." So, I found that quite strange. A very difficult brief to work around that. You can't mention dinosaurs and you can't mention Godzilla, right? Okay. So, anyway, I rewrote the lyrics in an hour.
After trying for about 4 days before.
You can probably tell. Yeah, going really mad, and the bicycle courier was coming up, the motorbike courier, and he was going to take it away. And he was sitting outside, waiting for his tune, and I just sort of finished it, sent it off, and he said, "Hey, we really like it." And that was that, and then it got released, and I didn't really like it. I mean, I did like some aspects of it, I just hated the way I had to hurry things. But when it went to #1, it was nice to get a #1. We had a party around here, sort of half celebrated that. The only day the sun came out. And that was that. It was good to go though, I never really thought we'd get a #1, because I'm not that sort of band.
We got to the scene, and you could see them in this sort of coffee shop, and you could hear, and you can hear that, and I'm like, all that fuss, you can't even hear it. And he said, "Okay, so watch this. We've got about 20 tons of water. It's just about to come over. None of these people, poor people, extras, know it yet. Speed and action." And I'm sitting in the back going, "What's going to happen here?" Yeah. And this wall of water. I was at the back, I went, "Shit." And this old man, people genuinely, they weren't pretending to run for their life. They were running for their life. All that dancing is on the backs of those suits. That's not CG at all. That's all me doing that. I just remember at the end as well, he said, "Okay, in the last shot, you just submerge yourself." And the water was cold, and I itched. This water was so dirty, it was black.
after having the problems we've had this year, you know, and having to start again, I think it gave me a new angle on what I was writing. And today I was, you know, just slightly annoyed to be an understatement. So obviously I think, you know, things like Canned Heat, you know, I mean, when I get angry and I get into that kind of mood, and I feel the world against me, and I do feel that sometimes, and a lot of the album reflects that. I don't know why, but I just do, you know, I mean, you know, I feel like I want to get out and I want to express my energy, you know?
Nothing else I need to do but dance. All these bad times I'm going through, just dance. Got candy in my ears tonight, baby.
I express my anger and my energy through dance and through drinking, you know. The more knackered and sweaty I can get, the more I feel like I've really worked it out, you know. Worked out my system, and often I will go and do that, and you know, as the lyrics suggest, you know, nothing left for me to do but just boogie. And I liked it, though. I mean, it has a very disco flavour, you know, but then again, a lot of the tracks on the third album, man, like, everybody's free, like the disco, everybody's doing disco. It's like, well, hold on a minute, you know, we did have tracks like Cosmic Girl and All Right.
Nothing else I need to do but dance. All these bad times I'm going through, just dance. Hey.
So talking about the boogie factor, let's move on to the video, Canned Heat, which, as far as I know, the concept is you dancing through a house, looking for a party, and it's directed by Jonas
Like I
Ackerman.
normally am.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for parties. Yes, I'm going from room to room, you know, I'm in my sort of bedroom. Just quite look like my bedroom. They had this big Ferrari flag on the bedroom, I said, you can get rid of that for a start. Everybody knows I drive Ferraris, forget it. So I wake up and I hear music, you know, and I'm fusing through the walls, you know, and then going into rooms, and people are in the rooms and you can't really see me. And then there's a part where I come out the telly, and so there's a little bit of post-production to be done on that. And then it culminates in the biggest revolving room ever built, which revolves, you can imagine a room bigger than this, much bigger than this, with all the furniture stuck to it, and it revolves around like this. And I said, you know, for these videos, they tend to pick me out for these dangerous videos, you know, because they've decided that just doing it with Celine Dion just won't work. You know, I just can't see Celine somehow leaping from chair to chair. My heart will go on.
Leap.
So, yeah. So, anyway, there was the best part of it, I think, was that the whole room goes out, and the stunt coordinator, they wanted a stuntman to do it. I don't like stunt people doing my stuff, I'd rather do it myself. Because, you know, I can do it. I mean, I've spent a lifetime of hanging off bridges and jumping across railway lines, so it doesn't bother me. And they've got these poles on the wall, so I decided that I'm going to go right round on these poles the whole way. And because of the nature of the video, you do have to actually, if you use your head, you can work out what they're seeing on the screen, and kind of visually make it very difficult to understand, the sort of things that you couldn't actually do. So by me actually going up these two poles here, and the whole room goes round. So I'm now so disorientated because the brain's just not used to seeing chairs on the ceiling. And it goes so fast that you find you run up here and suddenly it's up there and you slide right the way back down and you can really hurt yourself. There's no two ways around. I went round and I hung on to this thing and I got to the top and I was like this, hanging on this thing, and I went, oh, I'll let go. So I let go, I held on my hands. I suddenly realised, Christ, it's a 25-foot drop. So I'm dangling like this, and of course there's two licking people. The stunt coordinator's going, stop the machine, bring him down. and then the video editor, Jonas, is going, it looks great, you know. So I'm going, don't worry, I'm all right. And of course they've stopped the machine. The machine's on it takes sort of like a minute to start up. So I'm dangling like this. I can see where I'm going to lose my nut, you know. And I'm just hanging on like this. But the effect was great because it had the effect of me hanging off the wall, just with my legs out like that, which is kind of mad. With Jonas, I think he realised how passionate I am about how it comes over and how I work it, and I insist on having a fairly close relationship with the director, you know, and it's, I mean, because at the end of the day, the way I see it is I'm the artist, you know, and with no artist there is no video, and that's just the way I look at being an artist. The same with record companies, it's the same with everything. I feel that artists should stick up for themselves, because it's a cutthroat business, and people can make you look really bloody stupid. If people don't like you, particularly, but they want the work, because remember, the money's going in their pocket, they can make you look silly, and I don't like that. So, Jonas immediately said to Sony said, well, will you do this video? He said, the only person I'm working with is Jamiroquai, that is it. good lad, you know. He said, you know, no one else would scrape their knees and hurt themselves and crack their head open like me. Born on 3rd of December, and it's the last year of the millennium, so I spend a day being 30, and then, you know, and then I sort of got the rest of my life after that, you know. So it's kind of significant to me, and I've had some pretty black Capricorns. And, you know, Capricorns are known for their sort of dark, deep depression, and I am really like that. I'm either high, I'm low, low.
And the sky is black. I can feel cold steel when I turn my back.
I've been away, it has a sort of Sly and the Family Stone, Hendrix type elements to it, you know.
Lazy, funky feel.
Which I really like, and that's really my band. My voice is cut out for that kind of stuff as well. And I was very angry when I wrote the song. Very angry when I sang it too. Synchronised. Everything has a link, you know, everything's got a universal harmony about it, the trees and the land and the sea and sky and what have you, you know, and that also gets reflected in people, you know. And I think if you follow your heart, which is your natural intuition, you can't go wrong. And I mean, you know, people say to me, oh, why do you do so well? You know, it's like, well, apart from working hard, it's just I follow my heart and I do what I think is best to do for me. So therefore, I feel that I'm synchronised. I'm in tune with myself, you know, and that's what being synchronised is, being in tune with what your heart wants. And because you go through life and you realise life is just a road, and it, you know, branches out into forks, and you have to pick the right fork in life. It's like if I didn't buy this house, I wouldn't have the studio, we wouldn't have an album here in July. As it was hard enough, you know.
And, you know, so all these decisions is like whether we put the album out in July or September. You know, a lot of people will say, put it out in September, don't hurry. And it's like, for me, it's like, well, no, you know, I need to have the thing out then. I mean, what would we do for 5 months?
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't do anything.
Bored.
Bored. Band gets rusty and it's bad. So it's a good title, you know, and the other thing is, of course, that the whole thing's been done here. The album shots were taken here, the press shots were taken here, everything to do with this album has been done here. So it's a real cottage home industry thing, you know, and there's something very synchronised about that.
Standout songs for me, Soul Education. Is that a personal song for you? Because it's, you know, I know that was the top favourite. Top tune.
Top cat. Yeah, Soul Education I like, because we're all born with a Soul Education, and we're all, you know, and we're all born as part of the world, you know, we're born as part of nature, and we sort of forget that, and then Armstrong on that, you know, I'm very much into planetary influence on our lives, and I'm also into the fact that we're born with everything we need to know. We're born with what's right and we're born with what's wrong. We know that. And there's so much wholesome energy, you know, to be had in nature, you know, and the wind, and just, you know, wind on your face and the rain on your face, and it's like life information, you know. It's a sort of thing that, it's sort of someone's trying to say, if I had nothing in the world, I was born with nothing, and if I end up with nothing, I still have my soul education, which gets around to being synchronised again, which gets around to, you know, having your intuition, your life's intuition, and everybody has it, just some people got to learn to use it.
It's time for revolution. Have a revolution. Got to have
I have a passion for motor cars. I love motor cars. And as a little boy, okay, there are 100 other pop stars out there, okay? They are as aware of the environment and social issues that we have going on in the world as I am. But they didn't mention it. So nobody asks them any questions about it. But just because I mention it and have an opinion, and I do support people like Greenpeace, and I do support people who try to make the world a cleaner, better place, you know, it means that I have to come under fire for it all the time. So I drive a car. Now let's get something straight. You know, I also live here in this beautiful place with more trees than most people will ever see in their life, right, who live in a city. We grow organic vegetables, okay? We have a spring with fresh water at the top of here. We have trout. We don't spray pesticides on the land. Nothing gets sprayed on the land at all. Or we make all our own compost and eco piles, okay? Got plans for an electricity wind generator up there, up at the top, you know, so we can generate electricity out of the wind alone. And most cars I drive have a four-way catalytic converter that emits 95% of carbon dioxide emissions, and they run on unleaded fuel. Now, I can't do much better than that. People have got to get real, and they have to understand, you know, that there are things that, you know, that we do here. You know, there's a huge amount of money spent in this house on creating a waste system, so that all the waste from the sewage and stuff is recycled and reprocessed and broken down, and harmlessly put back onto the land. And so I think people misunderstand, you know, where I stand with the environment. You know, it's also it's beautiful, and I love it, and I care for it. You know, because I drive a car doesn't mean that I don't care for it. So people will always criticise people that do something. It's only the people that do nothing who can never be criticised.
Revolution. See you guys around.
I started playing, I had the guitar on my lap, and we couldn't get plectrums over in Qatar, so I used to cut them out of hair lacquer lids.
Right.
And I used to sit and play everything on my lap, sort of Jeff Healey style, until I came back and had lessons. Well, I've been with the band about a year now, and just started, you know, as soon as I sort of got in there, we just started doing a bit of writing together, and it's
easy.
All worked out great.
Yeah. He's got, you know, he's got kind of style, which is, you know, we'll sit there and he'll kind of push it further, you know, he'll push the chord hunting kind of further and further. And you know, Rob kind of, he's got a great lead style and a great rhythm style, and you get guitarists who are, one's good at one thing and one's good at the other, but rarely do you get them all at once, you know. And he's all right as well.
He's all right.
But he's all right, we get along.
Well, he's got his...
There you were freaking out, trying to get your head around the fact that me and you in love is dead. See how I'm tripping now, 'cause you can't decide what you really want from me. Why does it have to be like this? I can never tell.
The song is about relationships, and it's about the ups and downs that you may have in that. And if somebody doesn't love you with a big L, they love you with a little L, and that's what it's all about. The ultraviolet idea came from a pair of trainers, and they had a fluorescent stripe. And I went into a club one night, and I saw how mad the effect was. And so I got the jacket made up and the UV material, and it came out so well on there. And then we did that in the video, so I think it's worked really, really well. The hat is solid silver, and it's something I designed and a guy called Johnny Rocket made, and it's incredibly heavy and extremely expensive. Each one is £10,000 each to make, but that's because they're in silver. It's quite dangerous. I mean, people do have to keep out of the way because you could have someone's eye out. The dancing is all off the cuff, and I've never been choreographed, and probably should be by now. But I mean, I'm not really, you know, I would only forget it anyway, so it's not really my cup of tea. I mean, that's what keeps it unique, and it keeps it your own thing. And the idea of it is that people kind of see the accents in the music.
We're in Paris working with Stéphane Sednoui, who's one of the best directors in the world. Toss-up was really between New York and Europe. We thought we'd come to Paris so he could work with his crew.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh dear, to be loved with a little L.
The most fun you've had all day.
Hey!
I love it that when it just cuts out and you get the white. We're doing the UV bit.
James quite keen to have this idea to set it in a club, you know, a club with a difference.
And that's what I'm saying. Some people did it, and some people.
So voila.
So voila.
I'd carry on to you. I knew my heart belongs to know you. You give me something, something that nobody else can give. And my heart started thumping.
You give me something. About anybody in particular?
Oh well, it's well, it was like the yin and the yang, wasn't it? There was little L, which is the negative one, and then there was the nice one. You give me something. Denise will like that.
Yeah. Oh.
She'll like that.
She's tuned in.
She's probably not.
No. Well, we could ring her.
Well, steps aren't on here, aren't they? Let's face it.
Ooh. Ooh. So, Funk Odyssey.
Heidi Klum had mentioned in some interview that she would love to do a Jamiroquai video. And I thought it'd be, you know, what a great thing to do. And I thought, you know, if she wants to be in it as well, that's great, because you're working with somebody who's not into it. They can end up being a pain there, and you've got to you book them, they're there. So what I'm saying is you've got to click with them. And Heidi came along, and sure enough, I mean, we clicked really, really well. It comes out in the video, you know. Got shipped over, that's mine, S1 Continental. So we got the shots of the car done, and then I'd arrived 3 days before, because I was determined to do this flying thing. What they did want to do was make out I jumped out of a plane and film it like that, and then get real skydivers and cut them in, and I still wasn't happy about that, because I still thought it was just good enough to watch this thing. So I came up with this thing that Heidi pushes me in the pool, I go to the pool, and then they got the dolly birds around, ducks around, but you're drying off. It's nice, isn't it? Swim underwater like the milk tray, man. Mind you, the one thing I did forget about swimming underwater, it was like, how come everybody else looks so cool when they're underwater? Probably because I was like that. Quick tip, if you do want to look good swimming underwater, expel the air from your cheeks. I'm going to have to do this in a Gucci suit. Fly. And these Swiss guys said, there's no way he will get enough lift if he's wearing the Gucci suit. So it was like, well, we're going to have to get enough lift, aren't we? So we sew the collars down, sew it all down, sew the suit together, and go for it. Yeah. God, I look like I fucking slipped in a giant diarrhea.
That there's nothing left to do or say. Think I'll dream till the stars shine. The window whispers and the clouds don't seem to care.
Some of I want to settle at home, which is what that song Corner of the Earth is about. You know, I found my own little corner of the earth, and it smiles at me, you know, from above.
It's the chorus of the breaking dawn, the mist that comes before the sun is born. To a hazy afternoon in May. Nature's got me high and it's so beautiful, yeah, yeah. I'm with this deep eternal universe, from death until rebirth. I'm in the mood for love, simply because you're near me. Funny, but when you're near me, I'm in the mood for love.
The song that I get on stage and have a little go with Jay is called Main Vein. That was the first time that Jay had ever asked an artist to kind of join in with him on a song. So I was like, this is a dream.
It's going to be the theatre of dreams.
See them out on the street at night, picking up all kinds of strangers. You can score with the pockets nuts, but you won't have your time. Hey, you ask yourself who they are, yeah. Like everybody else, they come from near and far. Baby, baby, don't You've been messing with my mind. We do it all the time. Well, I'm breaking out. I'm breaking out. I'm flying higher than a picket space.
One of the world's most famous dancers.
What?
Yes, of course you are. Together with Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire.
Ginger Rogers.
Come on.
Oh no, I'm not a dancer.
Yes, you are. Do you watch sort of music television and sort of think, that pop musician, he has really crap dancing styles or something? Or don't you give a fuck about other people's dancing?
Oh, I don't. I just think that everything's so choreographed and so... It's so twee, isn't it? And I just think there's nothing original about any of them. They're all exactly the same, and they all just do these things. They wear these big baggy pants, and they do these little moves, and I just don't get where they're coming from. There's nothing original. I've never worked with a choreographer, and I'm better off. You know, I'm better off. I'm not really a dancer. I'm a mover. You know, I'm a groover around, and I'm better off making up my own ideas there. That's why Version Insanity was so good. I was left to my own devices, and you only have to look at the result. You know, it was like unplanned, but it's spontaneous. And this is what people have lost. It's quite sad, actually.
Yeah, it is.
It's eek stuff. And some of those American boy bands are just like, eek. This is really tough to watch. It's really embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing to watch them. So, as long as they know I think they're embarrassing, that's good.
Yeah.
Love Is the Drug. You must have been quite little when that came out, so how'd you get into that?
I went out and bought the album the other day, really, and just had it on the car, and I just love the... I mean, it's actually... Sorry about this, Brian, but it's played terribly. It's one of the most awfully played tunes I've ever heard in my life.
Can we say that?
I think they were all off their box when they did it. But the... no, seriously, go and listen to it, and you'll see everything's out of chime and everything.
I love the fact we've started the show slanderous and libelous.
Yeah, and libelous, yeah. No, it's a great track. I mean, I love the combination of the guitar and the bass working so well together.
You've been going for, well, quite a while now, but you're still a young man. What do you make of the current music scene? And on that contentious note, okay.
I didn't say yeah, I just went,
No, I like it. I like it. It's contemplative.
See, I was born in 69, and I'm telling the world, they don't want to know about me.
I have a reputation of being a real troublemaker, which I don't believe I am. You know, I'm not a celebrity, I'm a singer, and music, and that's what I do. And photographers and people want to provoke you, then you're gonna get pissed off after a while, and you're gonna want to deck them. Doing this business, you know, I mean, people see you with a big flash car, and everybody seems to think that I'm worth 25 million quid and all that, which I ain't. I probably owe about 25 million quid.
And I was a bit annoyed with myself, you know, and it was a bit, you know, it was just a bad day, you know, and I decided, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm just going to write this song, how I feel about myself. It's just really about, you know, everybody's different, and sometimes I kind of try to spoil things for myself in a way sometimes, and I never quite seem to get where I want to go, and I never quite make it to fulfill myself properly sometimes, and that's what the tune is about, you know. I've had problems with drugs and things like that, and you know, you write about it, then you get it out of your system.
What's the stuffed animal stick?
Oh, it's just this chicken that we've got, and it sings a song. You know, it does the birdie song. It's
a hit.
You know, and we bring it on. We've brought it on ever since the European tour, because it's just so awful and tacky and horrible, and it gives the drummer a break, to be honest.
Well,
it's actually there.
Someone was at the concert last night, chuck it here, and they're in the audience, and they've given... Ooh! You nearly took out a glass then.
Fantastic.
And you got a frog. And
amazing.
If you squeeze it...
What does it do when I squeeze it?
Have a guess. It croaks.
Right. I should put the frog up tonight. I should make sure. I tell you what, I'm not joking. If they're still doing chicken kebabs, they fucking are as well. I'm having a chicken kebab, bollocks. Stop it, please stop it. Toby, please stop it. It is you who started this. My first job, well, I had a range of jobs. I'm so sorry. I had a range of jobs, and keep it coming. So I'm in tears now. I had a range of jobs. I was a bean sprout packer for sale.
Now what you gonna do? What you gonna do to stop me? What you gonna do to stop me? 7 days in sunny June were long enough to bloom. The flowers on the summer dress you up in spring. The way we laughed as one, and then you dropped the bomb that I know you too long for us to have nothing. Ooh, so baby, let's get it on. I'm drinking wine in Calentown, sitting in the summer sun.
I was really into bands like Free and Cream and Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. That was what really kind of got to me, you know.
Baby, you can't stop me now. I'm coming there to see ya. I'm looking for fast and cheap. I'm looking for the Black Moon Streets.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from cloudy Los Angeles. I know it looks like New York, but it isn't. We're at Fox Studios. Haven't done a video for 3 years, and now we're straight in at the deep end. We must have 60, 70 people working on this. The video feels just like it should. Lots of characters dressed up in funny gear. Later on, I should be dressing up as a woman, which I'm sure will amuse you all. I've amused my friends.
We're coming down to see it.
Did you get
I'm
this?
looking for Fast and Cheap.
Thank you.
Fast and Cheap. Bam, you do your thing.
It's gonna be a great 3 days. I feel it in my bones.
I'm coming there to see ya. I'm looking for fast and cheap. I'm looking for the Black Moon Street.
I saw a film called Traffic years ago, and there's a bit where a school kid kind of goes down to the bad streets, as it were, and that was basically it. It's almost like a life journey. He starts off as a nerdy kind of guy, and then gets to be a cool guy, and then goes back to being a nerdy guy again. And all the time he's saying, "Wow, does it feel this good to be this cool?" And people are saying to him, "Yeah, it feels just like it should."
I'm coming there to see ya. I'm looking for fast and cheap.
Every time there's some expensive video shoot or some camera shoot, it always rains, you know. I did a DVD in Verona, it rained, you know. I went to Sicily to do a show, it hadn't rained for a year, it rained. I go to Los Angeles, I'm standing on the set, we must have had about 16 shots to get every day, and the heavens opened and it rained. Nerd. The nerd. Great. Really great. And last week, one of my friends, he took a, he stole my satchel. Why me, eh? Why me? Which
That's
one
the door right there.
That's the door right there.
He opens it, kicks you out. I want you to tumble to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. People will be walking past you. You're in the rain. Your glasses should be on. You'd be looking for your glasses, and he'll say, "Don't you ever?" I don't know. Blah 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 blah. We'll figure it out, and then we'll end on you just looking for your glasses on the ground. JK was a trooper. He was shivering, he was cold, but he did it, and he has my respect. That was a tough thing to do, to get out there in the rain and just do it over and over and fall on his face and scramble around and just shiver to death. Amazing.
I understand. I am voluntarily performing stunts and other hazardous activities, which activities I have been advised are inherently dangerous.
I never signed that.
I voluntarily assume all risk, including the risk of death or personal injury relating to my participation in the production, even if caused by negligence. Yeah, this is just, I don't know, big jump over the car, big jump onto the bonnet of the car. I mean, I thought we'd be a bit ambitious to sort of have them moving, and I wouldn't wear a harness and just do it. But this is America, and safety first, and even though I have signed my little I don't mind dying doing this video paper.
There's a whole lot of stunts going on. One of the things that Jay really wants to do is this actual slide with his feet on the back of a car. And it's really freaking out everybody, except record companies and corporations, because he could really hurt himself. But he's going for it. It's like he doesn't want to stunt man, he doesn't want to do anything else, and he doesn't even want to have wires. He wants to literally just slide in there. So that's what we're doing.
In the front, hand on the back of the shoe, if it's ready.
I thought, you know what? This is a perfect thing to do in a video. Nobody's ever done it before. And I think that's the key, to find these kind of things that people haven't really done before, and do them for real, not have a stunt double do it for you.
Or do you want every...
All right, Jay, let's strap on, brother.
The main stunt, the main part of it for me, and something I do like to put in the videos, me doing my own stunts, was the sliding behind the car. What's happening here is I'm picking up the wee man, and I'm going to use him as a shield. No, wee man was great. I mean, he kept kind of patting my but I didn't know what to think of that. But no, he was a great guy.
In between that shot, JK kept tapping me on the butt. I don't know what that was all about.
Okay, sure. Yeah, cool. That'd be awesome.
Once it gets you.
I'm starting to look pretty damn nasty. In the Candyman character, it took 5 hours of prosthetics. So they had to firstly get my shape of my face using a mould, which means they mould all across your head like a plaster of Paris mould. And then they leave you just with your nostrils to breathe through. So if you're claustrophobic, it's not the thing to do. And then they've got the shape of your face, and they build up your face over a period of 5 hours, which started at 5 o'clock in the morning, to get this Candyman effect.
Oh my God.
All the best things in life are worth waiting for, boy. Don't you understand? No, I'm gonna go and rob the Bank of America in my lunch hour. And they're never gonna know it's me. What I was trying to do was make sure that when the Candyman was dancing, they didn't dance in the same style as me, so it was a more exaggerated kind of style. It was more about movement than dancing.
There's this whole sequence where we've got just a bunch of different wire rigs going on, a lot of floatless, weightlessness. I just thought it would be an interesting way to capture his dynamic of his dance. If you sort of take away the concept of gravity and see what Jay could do with it. You put anyone else in a wire and they're just going to jump up. You put Jay in a wire, he's going to be twirling, twisting, doing weird things, putting rhythm to it and personality.
Thank you.
Right down.
All the way down.
Let's bring a monitor to him to show him.
Got the seat behind
Jay,
you if you
that
need
stuff
it.
is amazing. It's amazing. Okay.
Just like you said it, but
It's all underneath, and then they wipe it over.
Oh my God, you are scary.
scary,
That's
man.
the point. It's the fourth day. Meant to do 3 days. Stunt time. So, to be honest with you, I used to do this when I was a kid, actually. Hanging off things. I've always done it, skateboards, everything. I love it. You know, it's just like, because I'm still a child. But we just want to make it weird. It's just a weird thing. It's not something that you really see, is it? You don't see people. You might see someone on a skateboard, but you don't see someone actually hanging off just with the shoes. I'm hoping it doesn't start some craze and everybody goes, oh, it's because he bloody did that on the... My child is hurt. My child has hurt his face because of your video. Dressing up as a woman was amusing. Well, it made everybody else laugh anyway. And that was, I mean, it was hilarious to see. I think just to play different characters is something I've never done in a video before. I'd always just been me. And I just wanted it to be funny, really, more than anything else. I wanted it to be amusing. And so far, seeing me dress up as a woman has amused a lot of my friends. I'm just your fantasy.
You're gonna perform mostly from here on this one. We'll make it a little crazier and stuff like that. Flirt with him, you know, just be fantasy, okay?
Okay, here we go. Let's stand by, please. And slate 10, please.
It's a wrap.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Joseph Kahn. And let's give it up for JK, a.k.a. Fantasy. Thank you very much. That's a wrap, folks. That is a wrap.
Well, I thought it went really well. I mean, the crew and everybody's been so wonderful. And I'll see you in the studio soon. Hope you enjoyed the show. Bye. There's a magic I can't hold. Your smile of honey gold, and that you never seem to be in short supply. So baby, let's get it on. Drinking wine and killing time, sitting in the summer sun. You know I've wanted you so long. Why'd you have to drop that on me? Lazy days, crazy dogs. You said we'd been friends too long. 7 days in sunny days in sunny June were long enough to bloom. The flowers on the summer dress you wore in spring. Why can't we be together? Can't you love me? Don't hate me. I don't see why can't we live together? Should be.
And I would have thought that you had the easy life with that being your new video, but apparently that's actually you in a weird way.
Well, it is. What happens is they put a load of... You dress up in a skin-tight leotard like that, and they stick a load of dots on you and a load of lasers track actually what... So that's actually my legs doing all that.
That's a little bit Tron.
Yeah, and then they put the sort of the animation on the top of it, yeah. I'm sure they get to the people, but they don't get to the people who can really change things. Those people are the people who well, we call them governments. And, they're supposed to do things for us, and a lot of the time they don't do what they're paid to do. You have to make people better before you make the world a better place, and it's really difficult. It's a studio playback stroke, nutty moon buggy, completely got nothing to do with anything at all.
What are we doing? Oh, I'm grooving it.
Large.
Right, larging it.
Here we go. Vonners, boarding.
It's lovely.
Minute 20.
You see that stuff with those hands?
Do you want to go during the 5?
Well, tomorrow will be a doddle. Absolute doddle.
It's good. Does look good. Well, the buggy was like a Honda sort of pilot thing. Just with the frame cut away from it, and in about a week they got it together. So they got it road legal and the lights on it. Here you do Later on I'll be having a pee out of my pee tube. Yeah. Happy? Right. That will do us all. Rat, rat, rat. A lot of this stuff has gone into a Pro Tools unit as opposed to being done live, which is how we've always done it really. Up to the fourth album was all live, and we never even touched machines. But I think we felt that we just had to give it a little bit more of a sonic edge.
However, their determination to keep things fresh almost backfired when critics reacted to the change of direction in the album's lead single, Feels Like It Should.
I felt using a human beatbox was a very unusual step, putting a groove on it and then singing a kind of falsetto thing was different. It gave it a rugged kind of feel that I don't think we'd had before, and it had an impact. Everybody immediately heard the first bars, you know, and went, "What is that?"
It ended up going to number 3 on the British chart. Coming up with the next album, Dynamite, Jay was determined to deliver for Jamiroquai fans.
You can never take that for granted. You can never sort of say, right, you know, 4 million people bought the last album, 4 million people are going to buy this one. It isn't like that at all. And, you know, you can only gauge it from when it comes. I'm nervous as hell. When it first comes out, and I sort of sit and I don't want to look at the Music Week, you know. You sort of want to look at your chart position, but you can't take it for granted. You can't take it for granted. Obviously, there are things to be said sometimes. The track world that he wants, you know, it's you know, I'm being serious. You know, I'm not joking. You know, it's like he knows they're not coming home is one of the lines of the thing. You know? That people want to pay attention to, you know, what you're wearing, you know, what car you drive, what's it like to be rich and famous, you know, and they don't realise that there are moments when I'm an ordinary. Really ordinary person, like really ordinary. You know, I've got a house on Little Crofter's Cottage in Scotland. The fire's going. I put my walking boots on. The dog comes with me. The beach. It's windy. It's cold, but I like it. The phone doesn't work. I go down to the local pub. No one bothers. Locals don't bother me, and that's really. I'm much more that than people think of the sort of Ferrari driving Lavario.
J.K., frontman for the group Jamiroquai, is accustomed to having his picture taken wherever he goes. But tonight, the vocalist is fed up with the paparazzi.
And you should be ashamed of yourselves. And if you ever with me or my mother, I'll... Are you who are?
He's interrupted by the pop of Alan's flashbulb. Jay lays into the snapper, smashing his camera. His handlers pull him away. But though the talent is corralled, the newsman can't help but get in a parting shot. Jay considers it a call for an encore. The uncaged party animal goes wild in the streets, slugging anyone in his path.
And everybody just scattered. It just kind of deteriorated into kind of mayhem.
Finally, the Bobbies arrive to book the singer a new gig at the local police station.
Honey, looks like a superstar.
6 world records today, but the two main ones being the fastest gig in the world and the highest gig in the world. So, and the furthest distance travelled while doing a recording. So I don't know what the ins and outs are, but just to get those two things is a cool thing to do, you know?
Please give a very, very warm welcome to Jamiroquai.
Good afternoon, people. How the devil are you all right? We're just about to break 6 world records. Oh, turbulence. Hang on to your hats, people.
God bless these hard times. Last night, I turned the daylight.
And thank you again for this great performance.
Super.
And that you participated in this crazy idea.
It was nice for us all to do it together, so give yourself a round of applause. Right. Nice one. I'm the highest, I'm the fastest, I truly am a record breaker.
Don't want to try and say anything funny.
Close, and in fact, White Knuckle Ride was actually from the previous album, but it had a different feel to it. Some of it was kind of the same. I mean, it had about 3 different variations. I mean, for me, the basic premise of it is just such an unusual thing. I mean, how many people sing the song and, you know, fly the aircraft in the video? It's a groovy thing to do.
chasing the car with an interior
thing.
shot of Jay's head.
Straight up the road, 70 mile an hour. Go. Going that way and then turn around and come back. Money.
Everything's clear here, Andy. Go for it.
Go on, Andy. I tell you what, this is the opportunity of a lifetime to make a video like this. It really is. Opportunity of a lifetime.
You okay?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
good. Water. Mad, but okay.
I say Biggles.
I look slightly weird.
Anybody want a funny foot? Have you seen Noddy? Ow. That's why it's called Prickly Fucking Pear. Alright, I promise not to play with things in the fucking jungle again. Fuck. Up, everybody! Good one! Woo! Well done, Aaron. Well done, boys, everybody. Well done. All I can say is that was a really easy day today for a video. I really enjoyed it. The flying was great and everybody's safe, and that is the most important thing of all, because what we were doing is new to me. I'm just dead happy, and to top it all off, of course, it's a beautiful full moon. So these are the figurines, acting out all the scenes before my eyes. That song is written in a particularly poignant moment for me, really. You know, probably that's when the best stuff comes. And yeah, you know, it's just about, you know, gaining your freedom again. And, you know, having an open road in front of you.
Can you still recall when you were on the road?
Yeah, in the garden.
And what did you feel? What was going on there?
I wasn't having a very good time, to be honest. So I tend to be an up and down person anyway. You know, I'm either really happy or I'm really sad. You know, it's just times like that when you just feel a bit alone. You know, you feel like fairly solitary. You know, and you want to write about it, and you want to get it out off your chest. So I think that's when the best stuff comes. You've got to really feel it to write it and get the best stuff. And it's just very simple song. There's nothing special about it. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really like it. Everybody, I thought it was okay, but everybody said it's amazing, it's great, we love it. And I was like, I don't know. Well, to be honest, the budgets for videos are not quite what they used to be. And we were out in Spain, and I'd already done the White Knuckle Road video with the Porsche and the helicopter. And we had to do 2 videos in 2 days. And it's quite a freedom thing. Oh, nothing more freedom than a Harley Davidson. It was a nice sunny day, blue skies, thank God it didn't rain. Day 2, no doubt about it, just think lack of sleep. But what can you do? I went to bed last night replaying, you know, the whole thing of yesterday, all those last shots and stuff, and just thinking how well it all came together. If I could have another 6 hours sleep, it's just tiring, you know. I'm not fucking 22 anymore, you know, like leaping around, isn't it all exciting? It's definitely work.
You wanted to come and have a quick look at the Harley?
Yeah.
It's a nice bike, isn't it? It doesn't look too fat and Harley.
No, over the last 2-3 days flying, you know, just confidence builds up enormously. It's 3 days fairly solid flying I've been doing. It all starts to come back. It's a bit like riding a bike. I do believe this is the most relaxed shoot I've ever done. That's the inspired ending, that. I'm sorry. That's a winning ending. The helicopter comes back in against the sun and you walk into the sun. That's a wrap, everybody. Thank you.
Beautifully done, yeah? Good one.
Brilliant fun.
We've ended up really with 2 videos that link with each other, which is kind of what we wanted, what I envisaged. I'm just dead happy. I'm really thrilled everybody's safe. I think we've got some fabulous, fabulous footage, and I'm just dead happy.
And Lifeline was a story I heard about a while back. You know, it's just sort of snippets to pick up. It was about the 1920s. You know, in the southern states. You know, in America, and this black guy went off with a white girl. You know, it's unheard of. Do you know what I mean? Downright dangerous, to be honest. And when they drove off, you know, together, sort of, well, whatever they did, you know, they went on the run together. Do you know what I mean? And of course, you know, they're not allowed to be seen or anything like that. And it was one of those. They kind of got inspired.
To be back on the road with you again, baby. Well, baby, yeah. You know I feel like coming, help me. Yeah, yeah. No use in getting down upon your knees tonight. Start off in love because I got no faith, yeah.
Listening to you in the car, and you know, you smoke a lot, but you don't hear it affecting the voice. Is that, have you noticed any change at all in the pipes?
Yeah, no, there is. But the thing is, it changes very quickly. If I don't smoke for a day, it all comes back. You know, 2 or 3 days, it comes back. But sometimes, some songs on there, you know, like Hurting. I mean, that's half a bottle of scotch and 40 fags to get that voice.
Yeah.
But it worked. We can hear it now, you know. But it works, you know. It just some things. I think when I started off, everything was like me, stuff like that. Me, when you gonna learn?
Something happens, your voice gets old. I mean, some people, I think my voice is better now than it was then.
The knees are saying to me, "Oi, mate, yeah, this one's got a little twinge in it." I went running yesterday. So that's the other thing, trying to build up to the fitness levels.
I mean, how do you do that? Do you actually go out and pound the pavements to do about
Yeah, I'll run all right.
I've seen those twisted lies thrown back into my face. Here it is. There's a way to make it better. Gets you down. That's pressure. Thank you.
Hi, come on to
Thank you.
Good to see you, mate. How are you?
I have to say, I had reservations about coming on the show. I've had a wonderful day.
Yeah?
Everybody's been charming. It's been wonderful.
Glad to hear it. You met the
Lovely
judges
stuff.
before?
Sorry?
You met the judges before?
I haven't met the judges before. I've met 2 of them before. I haven't met the other 2 before, no.
We're all friends now.
The nice one on the left.
Quite frankly, one of them that mimes on your own TV show while you're mentoring the same people, you're supposed to be telling them how to run their career, and you're miming your own thing. It's not something I'm going to tolerate or sit there, you know.
And singing live is what Jamiroquai is all about.
Of course, I think what people don't understand is that I've never seen the X Factor. I've never watched it. Never watched it before in my life.
Right, yeah.
So, I had a vision in my mind, you know, that I'll go along, sing my little song, you know, 27 million albums, you know, Grammy, all the rest of it, and then I've sort of, you know, Cheryl, Danny and Simon all sort of sit there and go, you know, I mean, I can understand the other 2, but I just thought that the idea for me of Cheryl and Danny sitting there, then sort of, and then saying, yeah, I thought you were a bit sharp in the second line of the sort of first chorus, and I just couldn't deal with it. So of course I think, you know, somebody's obviously got the sharp end of my tongue, as it were, and I had a little rant, you know, and I think in the context of it, do you know what I mean, it wasn't exactly really meant for
for general consumption, as it were. And I felt a bit bad, because I didn't really mean it like that, but you know what I mean. I felt a bit bad. Like I say, you know, fine, do what you do. I wasn't into the concept of being judged. Just, you know, I mean, look, Stevie Wonder wants to sit there and judge you, you know, different ball game. But I wasn't up for it anyway. I just think things are about track record, you know. And I think sometimes it's good to be straight talking. People get bored. Hey, what do you think of the show? I think it's wonderful. Everything's wonderful all the time. It's an important thing. The world doesn't have enough of these type of things, and you know, so many conflicts going on in the world. It's an important thing to do for people to have, you know, freedom of speech and rights to say what they need to say and not be oppressed by governments, you know, across the planet.
What a mess we're in. Hard to know where to begin.
What I'm just suggesting is that perhaps you should spend less time in church, more time worrying about that, because it's kind of more important. And you know, in some ways, it's probably nature's way of saying, I think you guys spend too much time fighting on the earth, so now I'm going to show you what real power is, not the stuff you're making up in books. I want people to, you know, understand that all the time you fight on this planet and do all this like crazy, crazy, crazy humans, it's only one little tiny ball. And I really think that we look just look here, humans do this. They look about this far from the page and wonder why they don't see anything. And all they've got to do really is look up. It's where you get all your time, your navigation, everything comes from that universe. And we live on the edge of a massive spiral galaxy, and there are billions of them. And, you know, I just find it weird that we can't get with the program. I just want people to think. I'd rather people weren't taught crazy religious stuff in schools, and I'd rather they were taught that. I could sit and argue with somebody religious all day long, because all I want them to do is admit that really they're wrong. There's no proof for anything of what they're saying. But there's proof with this. We've got probes that go past these places. We've just seen a comet hit Jupiter about 5 years ago. You know, there's proof in the pudding. Sun comes up, moon comes up, sun comes up, moon comes up. All of this religious stuff is all about money, power. It always has been and it always will be. And that's my view on it.
Thank you for your time.
Vote for me and bring some sense to the bloody world.
Necessarily going to be the first song that anybody heard, but there was a very strong video done for it, and I think it was felt that it was going to be, Jay had in his head that this was going to be the album title and the styling of what he has in mind for the whole package, the thought and the imagery and everything else behind the album. And so it was felt that it would be a kind of a cool kind of a jolt and a little shock, because it's probably the most extreme track on the track listing in that way, the most synth driven. I mean, I'm playing on the chorus. Originally I was on the whole of this track, and then it became more and more synthy.
The human clone is on its way, and then you start thinking again the applications for that, and you know, it just becomes a sort of frightening thing of the sort of the Autobots, and sort of half humans and half robots, and you know, you start seeing it with the programs on, you know, Channel 4, you see Humans and the rise of the robots and the digital human and all this sort of stuff, and so you see it's obviously becoming a thing we're having to start thinking about, you know. First thing being, you know, you can automate everything you want. What are people going to do? And that's why I wanted to get across with Automaton.
Hey, you got me down underground, getting hold up in my cyber lounge, as if I had time to break that down. Am I now? Every heart is beating.
The old Collindale.
Where do you want to go to?
This feels quite tight, this one, but that's the look right there. Okay, so one like that with the blue under the eyes.
So this action,
yeah,
it's you walking up, but this time, rather than stopping,
yeah, just keep walking.
Just keep walking, and you can probably walk at a tiny bit more of a pace.
A tiny bit more of a pace.
Because we're not sort of behind you.
You're looking for a straight C3PO for this?
Yeah, look. So I think.
What makes you think there are settlements over there?
But then I died for you. I said goodbye to the world I knew.
Well, the last shot, and it's blinking freezing.
Look up in the sun with the light. Watch your wrap, everybody! And more than you, intelligence. I'm a tomato. I'm a tomato. I'm a tomato. I'm a tomato. You know I need something I can hold on to. Hold on to. I need something I can hold on to. You pick me up, then you put me down. Can't seem to find my way around you.
With this, it's just it came across. We wanted to try to recreate Cosmic Girl, so we went back to Cabo de Gata. In Spain. Almeria. In Spain. So we went back to do the thing, so you can see from the video. Right. And then we were lucky enough to get Monica Cruz, so who was just a delight, perfecto. Huh?
Only a fool could walk away from me this time. I would do like baby, all night long. I got to get myself a beauty shot. Rocking in the sky, I just can't stop. Feel me, I've got sensations just for you. I'm stepping up the world tonight. I'm going down in the disco lights.
Nights in the Jungle was a track that I wrote sort of in empathy with Amy and the stick she got from the press. People who were there, you know what I mean, who kind of should know better, say, go on, you can do it, go on the stage, you know, putting her on the stage in the state she was in is criminal, you know, oh, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And actually then feeding off the fact that, you know what I mean, she's obviously not in a fit state to get on, you know, a woman should be resting or trying to sort something out. As you come out of a club, the flashing of bloody flash bulbs, you know, and so obviously with my checkered history with the paparazzi. So I wrote a whole song, which I'll probably put out at some stage with full lyrics, all in it's a more fuller lyric thing. I was tired, and because the business is becoming different to what it was. It's partly as well just working with the record companies. It's finding it a bit difficult, you know. And the way things were being done, the endless circle of doing the promotion stuff that you just don't really feel that it fits you, you know, doing kids' TV shows in the morning. It's like, why am I doing this? Am I really a kids' TV show guy? We started in 2013
So that was the first time that I came with Matt Johnson, the keyboard player.
Mhm.
And you know, we thought, okay, we have to start this new album.
Some things you don't think you're missing. Well, you know you haven't meant so much. Whoa.
Jay even said recently, it's kind of, there's something in there, it's like a box of chocolates, there's something in there for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not kind of a lacking focus. I think it sounds like a really concise piece of work.
Like your record sounds like a 70s record with the sounds of this era of like 2017.
I think that comes from the fact we have maybe 25, 26 old keyboards, okay? Coming back, Juno 6, Jupiter 8s. Now, you can go into the Pro Tools and look at the lookups of Moog, but the sound of the warmth that comes through the original, the bam, wow, 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 wow.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's a different ballgame.
Sí.
And then what we do is we take that from there onto half-inch tape. Then we have to get the tape machine
Really?
out, then back into the
Su
machine
nastro l'hanno
again.
messo.
So it's up because it's got to go onto tape to keep it.
I gotta still think about all the things we did. I couldn't find a way to work it out. I didn't know how to give.
Let's get realistic.
Yeah.
You know, there are guys who sit in ex-Russian underground bunkers at the moment, you know, who do you think runs your WikiLeaks and your stuff and everything else? You know, Boston Dynamics, US military guys making 400-pound load carriers. You know, it only takes one kind of nutcase to have that turn against you. You can't either forget, you know, people will end up looking at the screens all day long like this, and they forget about the other kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Simple things, a bird, a tree, a thing, that, how to write without tapping.
By hands.
Yeah, simple stuff.
Everything is within your kiss. Something about you. Something like I used to do with you.
I'm going to redo this hat. Sort of, what was I going to wear on my head? What was going to be how was I going to control my alter ego? You know, the Jamiroquai as opposed to Jay. The two different sides, and they are two different people. You know, they're two different psyches.
To say Jay's with us now, and you're not alone. You've
I'm
brought
not alone.
this
I brought it.
Describe it. It's sort of feathered, kind of like a feathered thing.
It's almost like it's sort of based on sort of pangolin, you know, like an armadillo type thing. And so it took a lot of work and design to get it. It can be programmed to go with the music. And it can also malfunction like it did the other day. There were two guys that worked on it. There's about 25 different micromotors in it, and they are
Fantastico.
One of the guys that was designer, you see him in the Automaton video. He is the guy that stands behind me as the doctor.
Okay.
The Mad Doctor.
Yeah,
he's one of the
in
guys
the video.
Okay. Absolutely. So
and he's Italian.
Yeah, he's very much Italian.
Okay.
Here, in the video, you see I have to use a whole handheld thing. It's difficult to get my fingers around. So the other guy, the German guy, Moritz Waldemeier, he designed this. He's the guy that when you have your television remote control, do you remember your first thing?
Yeah.
He's
Like
the guy
this?
that designed that.
Really?
Exactly. And he's the guy that designed that for Philips. When I first did the album, I was going to call it Pangolin. So, and I wanted to highlight the plight of, horned and endangered animals, really, which is sort of is getting to proportions that are just unsustainable. And so it was also a natural development from the old headgear and all the other stuff that I'd used. Yeah, but the pangolin is a particularly, one of many, many species that we are just destroying.
Endangered, yeah.
And all for the sake of people being a little bit, they need to be educated, please don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
For the rhinos,
beds
elephants,
and,
absolutely, just for horns, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just not on, and I don't like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this street has got a hold on me. Snoop Dogg. Tell me why you hurt so much. Love it, y'all.
But y'all do that. The big boss dog, yeah, do that.
Help yourself. Dr. Buck. Help yourself. Help yourself. Help yourself. You better help yourself. Help yourself. Come on. That was lucky. Now the kids wanna dance, you see. They wanna try and stop us doing what we wanna do. I ain't going for that, baby. 'Cause it's like this, you see.
I wore those hats a good few years before I ever even thought about making music, you know. I mean, I was 15, 16 when I started wearing that, and people laughed and said Davy Crockett. It was so funny.
Without moving, yeah. I know what we're doing is traveling. Without moving, I can't stop. No, I know what we're doing is traveling. Without moving, oh yeah. Oh, I really know that all we're doing, we're doing is traveling. Oh, now don't you see? Thank you very much. A round of applause to these bad boys.